What's going on, everybody? Josh McCarty from Bills Chat, and Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs back in the news again, and it's the story that won't go away. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the Allen Diggs dynamic today because Josh Allen made some comments after the victory over the Jaguars on Monday that gained national attention, where he was saying to the effect of it's nice to play with a group of guys who aren't worried about stats or getting the ball. Everybody eats, everybody's happy for each other's success. But if you've been following this team throughout the offseason, the everybody eats mantra is not a new thing. But the national media saw that and they tried to dig into it and take it as a shot at Stefon Diggs. And maybe it was. I can't really say. But what I want to say is I think it's important to understand not every story needs a villain. And I know that's not sexy. I know that's not what we want to hear. I know that the Bills are our team and Josh Allen is our guy. So it's easier for us to compartmentalize what happened in the Allen Diggs dynamic if Diggs is the bad guy, Josh Allen is the good guy, and we go forward with that mindset. And for those of you that don't know, here on Bills Chat, I would say we were a little ahead of the curve on it was time to move on from Diggs. And I don't say that as one of the content creators that's like, hey, I want my shine, I want my credit. Nobody cares about that. We don't care about that. This is more just to give you context of while Diggs was here after the situation in the Cincinnati playoff game, I thought it was time to start looking for a way out then. And I saw it starting to unravel then, signs of that even dating back to that Cleveland game that got moved to Detroit because of the snow, where Diggs was really unhappy on the sideline. Frustration was starting to creep in. And I say that now because this video is probably going to come off as me defending Diggs. And so I need you to understand where I'm coming from here. I don't think we need a villain here. I truly don't. My read on the situation is in 2020, when the Bills traded for Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen had just come off of his first playoff game, a loss at Houston, where he unraveled. The team unraveled, but he really unraveled. And if you remember that game, there was like a random lateral to Dawson Knox that didn't make a lot of sense. The moment looked like the competitive side of him took over and he did not know how to adjust. And the Bills needed weapons, and they were throwing a lot of passes that day to Duke Williams, and it was a mess. But I think it oversimplifies the Allen Diggs relationship to say Allen was okay, just kind of finding his way as a young quarterback. You inserted a star receiver, and now Allen was better. That is misrepresenting Stefon Diggs' path. Let's go back to Stefon Diggs in 2019 in Minnesota. He's a guy that's been on the Vikings for several years, hadn't really established himself as the go-to guy in that offense. There was a lot of Adam Thielen. It was a 1A, 1B situation. Depending on the game, a different guy was the 1A and the other guy was the 1B. And Stefon Diggs had never made a Pro Bowl in his life. So this is a situation where they come together in 2020, and both of these guys needed each other. Diggs found himself for the first time in his career as the focal point of an offense, as the go-to guy on the offense, as the unquestioned best player on the offense. And in 2020, when Josh Allen was still growing, the offense was built around getting the ball to Stefon Diggs. And with that, the added responsibility for Diggs was to help a young quarterback. And Josh Allen said many times, they asked him many times, when it gets chaotic, when the situation gets crazy on the field, who do you look to in that huddle to calm you down? And he would say quickly, 14 is my guy. And Diggs, you could tell, came in and really helped adjust Josh Allen's mindset. And Josh Allen may have gotten there without Diggs, but Diggs is a competitor. Diggs is a guy that has that championship mentality, and you can see some of that alpha personality of Diggs started to rub off on Josh Allen. But it's a two-way street. Josh Allen became a star quarterback in 2020 and has not looked back. Multiple Pro Bowls, multiple All Pro teams, MVP top 5 consideration multiple times. But Stefon Diggs also experienced multiple Pro Bowls, multiple All Pro teams, both of these guys being frequent members of the NFL Top 100 list in the 4 years they played together. They made magic happen. This was a beautiful thing. And I think it cheapens the story to act like Allen needed Diggs. They needed each other. And together, they became the best versions of each other. And they became two of the best players in the sport at their respective position. So now what happened? Why did it go south? Well, I wish I knew. I don't have a specific answer for you of why it went south, but I can tell you, whether you read Tim Graham's article on The Athletic, where Josh Allen snapped on Stefon Diggs in the locker room after the Jets game last year about how it's just one effing game. And, you know, you saw the sideline antics in the Cincinnati game where Diggs was showing up Josh Allen. Diggs showed up Josh Allen on the first drive of that game. An inaccurate ball from Josh Allen. Diggs is waving his arms demonstratively in Josh Allen's direction, letting the whole world know that he thinks that was a bad throw. You could see the cracks starting to come in the foundation, but I don't think that that means that when they were BFFs, when they were joking around, when they were telling each other how thankful they were for each other on Thanksgiving, when they were gracing the cover of Sports Illustrated for Kids as BFFs, that that was all fake and that's something we should forget. This duo made a lot of magic happen for 4 years. And I know, for the sake of argument and for the sake of trying to prop up our guy by going against the other guy, and you know, we certainly want the Bills to look like they were smart to trade Diggs. So there's a certain aspect inside of us that doesn't want him to go to Houston and shine. I understand that 100%. I'd be lying if I said I was like, I want Stefon Diggs to have the best year of his career in Houston. As a Bills fan, that would feel kind of weird. But I think it's just as simple as these guys outgrew each other and they moved on. And that doesn't mean that what happened here in Buffalo for those 4 years where they went to the playoffs 4 years in a row, they went to an AFC championship game where they were largely considered the best quarterback receiver duo in the sport for a large chunk of that time, is something we should just throw away because it ended poorly. There doesn't have to be a villain in this scenario. I think Josh Allen went from young quarterback with a toolbox full of skills, unlimited skills, but needed to find a way to turn himself into a toolbox, into a quarterback. And he did that very quickly. And having that go-to guy in Stefon Diggs helped that tremendously. On the flip side, I think this is just my opinion, I think Stefon Diggs really, really, really enjoyed being the guy that was like showing all the other guys how to be, setting the tone, the example setter, the leader, the alpha. Diggs knows how good he is. And for the longest time in Minnesota, I think you just have to listen to his words when he does interviews. He didn't get the opportunity very often to show how good he is. And when he got to Buffalo, he not only got the ball, but it wasn't about stats. I think Diggs truly did appreciate the opportunity to lead this team, to help this team go from fringe playoff team to Super Bowl contender, and to help be a huge reason why this star quarterback is a star quarterback. And by 2023, I think, you know, it was a big brother relationship. Diggs was like his big brother, but by 2023, Josh Allen was an alpha, one of the best players in the sport. And then it became like, well, who needs who more? And I think Josh Allen probably in a lot of ways, you didn't need the big brother anymore. And maybe Stefon Diggs missed feeling like that he was the big brother and needed it. People like to be needed. And I think maybe Stefon Diggs felt like, okay, well, now I'm not the big brother. This guy's fully established. Well, why are we making magic happen on a weekly basis? And then I think frustration started to set in. And when you are largely considered to be in the conversation with the best players in the sport, Ego is going to take over on both sides. Neither one of these guys, if you give them truth serum, want to hear that the other one is the reason why they were successful. But I think both of them would greatly mention that the other one helped them become the player they are today. And they've both said as much in interviews, not only while Diggs was here, but after the fact. There doesn't have to be a villain. You don't have to hate Stefon Diggs because you love Josh Allen. You don't have to hate Josh Allen because you love Stefon Diggs. It doesn't have to be a fact that you look at Stefon Diggs as a mistake and look back on the 4 years that Stefon Diggs was here and look at it as anything other than 4 years of excellence that just happened to end poorly. It happens. And Stefon Diggs has found himself back in a situation where he is with a young quarterback leading a young team that is trying to get to where the Bills have been to consistently. Okay. Now, is Stefon Diggs the bona fide number one receiver in that offense? I don't know. I think Nico Collins is excellent, but maybe that's not what drives Diggs. Maybe Diggs knows how excellent he is, but maybe he got addicted to that feeling of being the big brother to a young evolving quarterback. And maybe he found something within himself that sparked that. Whatever the case, I think the Houston piece of it is probably irrelevant. I think it's more about these guys outgrew each other. It was time to move on. And I just don't know that we necessarily need to find a villain in this scenario. And I'll tell you, as somebody who listens to every Josh Allen press conference, every Bills press conference, when I heard him say that, after Monday's game, I didn't think of that as like, oh, here's a shot at Diggs. It wasn't until I started watching clips of First Take and ESPN, and I was like, oh, these guys are going to take it in that direction. And, we all know 2 weeks from now, the Bills play the Texans. So let's go ahead and plant the seeds there. It's an easy story to move on with. But, I think, and that's not to say that the national media has an agenda, but from their perspective, somebody who's not like deeply ingrained with the everyday of this team, that sounds like a shot. When you play a clip of an answer, that's not even the entire answer and not even the question, you can make it sound a certain way. I don't think it was a shot at Diggs. I think it was much more of Josh Allen. Every time he gets a microphone in front of his face this offseason, this season has been asked about, what about your lack of weapons? What about your lack of weapons? And if you're Josh Allen and you have to go into that locker room and look at Khalil Shakir, look at James Cook, look at Dalton Kincaid, look at Dawson Knox, look at Keon Coleman, look at Curtis Samuel. And are you really going to do an interview and say, yeah, the weapons are kind of shitty, but I'm Josh Allen, I'll make it work? No, that you're not going to do that. So for him to say, I think we're fine, and we have a great mentality here, and everybody eats, that's been their mantra since minicamp. If you think that's a Josh Allen shot at Diggs, you haven't been paying attention. Sean McDermott, Joe Brady, every single skill position player, when they get a microphone in front of their face. James Cook on Thursday Night Football, when he scored 3 touchdowns against the Dolphins, the first answer out of his mouth was, everybody eats, tonight was my night. It's a team motto. It's not a shot at Diggs. This team is trying to grow again. They tore a lot of things down this offseason. A lot of leadership walked out the door. And they're building it back up. And so far, so good. But not everything is about Diggs. And I don't think it was a shot at Diggs. I don't think Stefon Diggs needs to be a villain in your mind. I think you can love Josh Allen and still love what Stefon Diggs did as a Buffalo Bill. I think you can love Josh Allen and still appreciate what Stefon Diggs did as a Buffalo Bill. And I think it's totally reasonable to be annoyed at the way it ended and to put some of that on Diggs if you want to. I choose to do that. But I don't think he has to be a villain. I don't think that has to make him a terrible person. And I don't think that this has to be a Josh Allen versus Stefon Diggs situation. I fully expect that when the Bills and Texans take the field in 2 weeks, there will be a big embrace between those two pregame, because I think they both still have a lot of love for each other. The same way you saw Josh Allen run up and hug Jordan Poyer, the same way you saw him run up and hug Gabe Davis and Mitch Morse. I think you will see much of the same when he and Stefon Diggs lock eyes pregame in Houston. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Let me know what you think. It's a polarizing topic, and everybody's got an opinion, and I respect everybody's opinion. That's just mine. I don't think we need to have a villain in this scenario. So what's coming up on our channel? Luca and I will be back late Sunday night with post game on the Bills Sunday night tilt with the Baltimore Ravens to upload Monday morning. It will be a post game show. Hopefully the Bills can win that game. While you're here, please take a moment to subscribe. We are almost to 400. We are slowly growing, and every little bit helps. We truly appreciate as we are trying to turn this into your one-stop shop for all Buffalo Bills content. I am Josh McCarty. I will talk to you next time on Bills Chat. Quick Chat.